Matt, before we talk about the game against MK Dons, obviously we've got to start. It's transfer deadline day. We know you're keen to get players in the building. Where are we up to at that stage?
Same as we were Tuesday night. Same as we were the Saturday before that. Still working on bringing players to this football club. It's an incredible market to be working in and assessing as time goes on. And obviously, it's all building to a head come 11 o'clock tonight. We still want players to come to this football club. We're still trying to bring players to come to this football club. We understand what we're trying to do in terms of strengthening the current squad we've got. As always, it gets later and later. You become more worried about missing out on your priority targets. But we can't just fill positions for the sake of filling positions. So we'll keep on working right till the deadline. And it also goes the same for players to leave the club either on loan or a permanent capacity.
Do you expect to be busy, or is it very much a case of we just wait and see what happens?
No, we're busy. We've never stopped being busy. We're working as hard as we possibly can and exploring every single avenue. A lot of it is out of our control. We can only put our best in front of people, which we've done throughout this transfer window. If that's not enough, then so be it. And we understand what we are as a football club, and we understand our model that we're working within the restraints of, and we're comfortable with that. So we need to understand that this group of players deserves their opportunity to play at the level they're playing at now. If we can help them with more personnel and added quality in certain positions, then fantastic.
You've spoken previously this summer about the reasons we've missed out on certain players. I think whether it's location, being out-financed by clubs in our league. I mean, can you just give us an idea of sort of what we're up against with other clubs and the same players that we want?
Well, I can discuss it, Craig, but there's intelligence in a football fan which would understand where we sit in the reckoning of our league. And you've only got to look at the names and the financial backing and the size of the clubs at our level, and then you can probably take about half of League Two and add that into that group, and you can probably take 4 or 5 clubs from the National League as well. So we are where we are in the food chain. We are where we are in the pecking order. We can't harp on about that and then use that as an excuse because we've functioned so well for a long period of time now. It's just the market that we're in, and maybe the market is currently slightly inflated on the desperation for a lot of clubs to sign players of a certain profile and a certain position. We can't control that. All we can do is keep on working. We've got what we've got in the building and try and improve on it. People don't want excuses and reasons for us not to bring in football players. As a manager, I want to bring in good players to this football club. It's not a decision that we're taking not to bring players in and improving this group. We know exactly what this group needs and where it needs to strengthen. But sometimes in the market, you have to look at what you're competing against as opposed to what we can offer.
Let's move on to the weekend then. In terms of injuries, absences, Alex Hartridge, any closer to return than what we spoke about on Tuesday?
Look, we'll assess him again tomorrow. He's not been outside today. And then once it goes a longer period of time, which it has since last Saturday and last Wednesday, then it's a race against time. Even more so because it's a muscular injury and he won't have had time to test it fully in a match or game environment. Then it'd be a big ask for him to be available for Saturday. But we always hope. Exeter City managers always live in a land of hope as opposed to reality, I suppose. So we're always hopeful that Alex will make it. He's been a big miss despite our defensive record recently. His start to the season was as impressive as ever. And when he's not on the pitch, we certainly miss his balance and his physicality.
MK Dons, losing playoff semi-finalists last season, a very, very good side, score plenty of goals. Would you say this is perhaps the biggest test we've faced so far this season?
Potentially. Impressive team, such an impressive season last season. Lost some of their bigger contributors. Some of them were loan players and they sold a couple of players as well. So they've had to recruit well and they've recruited strongly. A well-backed football club. Probably took a little bit of time for the new group of players to start gelling together, but certainly you look at their recent results, it seems they've found a winning formula and the right formula for the players they've now got. A manager I personally know well, and a manager I really admire. I like what he stands for. So I'm looking forward to catching up with him this weekend. Possession-based team, moved the ball fantastically well. And on the back of winning, was it 4-0 away at Morecambe? That's no mean feat last weekend. They're a team in form. So we may well see the best of what League One has to offer this weekend. That has to inspire us. It has to get us in the right place mentally for a proper home performance from ourselves.
I know you don't like to talk about what single particular players, but they have recruited Will Grigg again. Obviously, everyone knows that at this level, he's a proven goal scorer, and he started quite well for them.
Yeah, top player. They've been able to recruit him, and full credit to him. And they've added to that forward line as well. The lad they got from Norwich and Southend, respectively, Dennis, is a real handful, a real powerhouse. And then they've added like Coyote from Rotherham this week. So, almost embarrassment of riches at the top end of the pitch. But they've got a fantastic squad and a strong squad, which is why we expect them to be challenging at the top end of the table once again. But as with what I've spoke about previously, I can't control the opposition. I can't control who plays up front for the opposition or how many options they've got top end of the pitch. I've got to make sure we look like ourselves, and that will mean keeping certain players quiet and understanding their strengths, but also keeping our identity and playing on the front foot, understanding what we look like when we're at best, when we're at home. And we'll also need the fans to play their part in that. We've had some memorable games against MK Dons in the past, due to whatever reason. The fans always have seen on another level to what they have been previously, and that's what we're looking for this weekend.
We were all frustrated with the result against Cheltenham in our last home league game. Has there been any sort of message to the players on perhaps how to come up against a side that may play like Cheltenham did, where it was very, very difficult to break down?
But they had their game plan. On the day, their game plan worked. Is that the way to win football games and to gain points? And I'll let the paying public decide. We tried to win that football game. We tried to play on the front foot. We ultimately didn't have enough quality on the day to win the game. We certainly didn't deserve to lose a game. It was one of the few moments they got anywhere close to our goal. But every team is different. I think MK Dons will be a bit more aggressive with their play and a bit more forward thinking. But we have to be ready for every scenario, and we'll have learnt a lot from that Cheltenham game. And as much as you use that word frustration there, I wasn't frustrated. I fully understand now this team are punching well above their weight at the level they're currently playing. And we have to understand that every now and then we'll lose games of football, and there'll be games where we won't score in. But one thing we can't take away from this group is they deserve the opportunity to be playing at the level, and they're giving it everything they possibly can.
After such a busy start to the season, 9 games played in a month, this is the first week we'll have without a midweek game. How important is that for the players recovering?
Important for the ones who've played the majority of minutes, as always, and we'll look after the main group who've played, been on the pitch, and they've got the bumps and bruises and the tightness areas and the joint pain and the stiffness. But then there'll be a group who will need to do some physical work at the start of next week, and we'll build towards another massive game the following weekend. But it'll be used for the ones trying to get back up to full speed. You mentioned Alex Hartridge potentially for this weekend. If it's not this weekend, then we'll use next week for next weekend. And we'll just try and push people closer to where they need to be. And as the season gets into a bit of a ribbon, which it probably will from this weekend onwards, then you can start getting some consistency in your training time, in your game time, and in the work you do on a weekly basis. We were disappointed to go out of the cup competition to Gillingham on penalties. But if there's any blessing, then we don't have to worry about the extra fixtures, which will always add up. And we've got to use any games which come, whether it's the Papa John's game or a league game, as the next opportunity. And that's all we can focus on.